all the stories in the Bible. Story 1, Creation of the World. You already heard in the prologue the ancient story that opens the Bible, in which God created the world in 7 days. This second story, which we are calling Story 1, is another account, and it opens the account of mankind. Listen to this story as it is told from the Bible in the 2nd chapter. Let us go back eons and generations to the time when God was still crafting the world as we know it. Back to a time before the rich green vegetation that we see around us, for there was no rain, and there was no one to cultivate rich gardens. At that time, everything was wild, and a misty ooze was rising up, feeding the ground. And the Lord, He took mud, and He molded it into the form of a man, and He breathed life into the man. The Lord planted a garden in the east, beneath the lands of Eden, and He put the man there. God made every tree to spring up lovely, bearing rich, beautiful, good fruit. And the tree of life was in the middle of the garden, from which anyone who ate of it would live. There was also another tree there. It was called the tree of knowing all things, both good and evil. A river flowed down from Eden into the garden and watered it, and it formed a junction of 4 rivers. Pishon, which goes to the land of Havilah where there is gold, as well as Gihon, which flows into Africa, and the Tigris and the mighty Euphrates. God put the man into the garden to work and to keep the garden. And He put the man to cultivate every tree in the garden. And God said, "You can eat from any of these trees, but there is one tree which you must never eat from. It is the tree of knowing all things, both good and evil. Do not eat from that tree. On the day you eat from that tree, you will certainly die." And God looked down on the man and He said, "This isn't right. It is not good for the man to be all by himself. He certainly needs a helper who is fit for him, suitable for him, and I will make it." And God had brought every beast and bird of the land to that man. Whatever the man decided to call it, that was its name. The man, he worked the livestock, bird, and beast of the field, but among them he could find no one who was suitable as a helper for him, as a companion. And so the Lord put the man into a deep, deep sleep. He took a rib from out of its side, and He closed the place in his side where the rib was. And with that rib, He fashioned it into a woman. The man woke up. He said, "At last, this is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. I shall call her woman, for she was taken out of man. Therefore, every man hereafter shall leave his father and mother and hold on to his wife, and the two will become one flesh." The man and his wife were naked, but they felt no shame whatsoever.